All right, Nick, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. Rams, great stuff going on this offseason. I think they've done really well. As they always do, we love to talk about smart teams. But one move the Rams made in particular, we've talked about it a little bit, talked about how it's going to affect this program, this team going forward, with how they're going to be able to play. But now we're getting a little bit under the hood to see how this specific player in particular is doing. I think Rams fans are going to like this because Coach Sean McVay has some really high praise so far. Before we dive into that, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, one player in particular doing really well, catching the eye of Sean McVay, but he should. He's basically like their first round pick, his second round pick, tight end out of Oregon, Terrence Ferguson. Let's get into the article and talk more about it on the other side. This is from over on SI.com. It says, Sean McVay gave an update on rookie tight end Terrence Ferguson. He says, Terrence has been good. Really, today was the first day that we could do 11 on 11. These guys got here a couple weeks ago and seen a guy that's been really attentive in meetings, got a really good feel, really it's routes on air. And then what we saw today, which is a limited body of work, but it's just been really impressed with him and really the rookie class as a whole, McVay said. Well, that's good too. Ferguson's body control shows up on passes that are on his back hip, down low. He must dig out and high over the rim. He's capable of elevating, and his basketball background is apparent in how he can attack the football. McVay has been in search of a talented tight end for a while, and it appears they may have finally found one in Terrence Ferguson. And I think that is absolutely true. I think Ferguson is a very talented receiver, and I think they're able to get this guy. It's tough to say steal with a second round pick, but this guy, he's really performing well. He's already impressing Sean McVay, but what you get out of Ferguson is what you get out of there's always every year a couple tight ends. They go really high in the draft because their athletic ability and what they're able to do. And when you think of those tight ends, you think of guys like Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, two guys that were, those were the must get guys. These are the top of the class. Everybody's like, who's first, who's second, going back and forth on these guys. They're such incredible receivers, so talented as far as what they bring to the table. And let's bring up our chart here. And I want you to just not look at the names at first, just look at the bars. And when you look at this, everybody's pretty similar as far as what they bring to the table. And on this chart, you have Tyler Warren in blue, Colston Loveland in orange, and Terrence Ferguson in green. And you see how they are performing PFF-wise at different ranges in the field. You have the medium range passes from 10 to 19 yards, short passes that are line of scrimmage basically to 9 yards downfield, and then passes that were behind the line of scrimmage. How did they grade out? What were their PFF grades in those categories? Everybody's in the 90s. Tyler Warren, he's really good, but still, Terrence Ferguson just a few points behind him at most, and he's ahead of Colston Loveland in things like medium range passes as well as passes behind the line of scrimmage as well. Terrence Ferguson, a guy that you got with the 46th pick overall, is doing just as good as guys like Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland in college. This guy was just as athletic as them. He was just as talented as a receiver at them at these specific places down the field. I think that's the key here is the Rams do it again. They work with what they got in the draft. They go out and able to find a guy in Terrence Ferguson who's good. He's very good in his athleticism and receiving ability, makes him as good as the two can't miss, gotta get tight ends in this draft. I think he should be in that category. He's kind of getting overlooked by what he says. So, what his ability is, what his capabilities are, compared with how Sean McVay is already really excited about this guy. This guy with a whole rookie class, which is not surprising. The Rams usually get a good amount of hits in their rookie class. But so far, so good. Everything looks very exciting for Terrence Ferguson early on in OTAs. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Rams fans, like Nick says, the Ramley, in the comment section below, let us know, what do you think about Terrence Ferguson? Is this a guy, is this your next tight end of the future? It said in the article, Sean McVay has been looking for a while. He needs that guy. We talk about it on this channel a lot. A lot of the high-end elite teams in the NFL right now, They all have a great quarterback compared with a really, really talented tight end. You look at Baltimore with Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. You look at the Chiefs with Travis Hunter. You can go down the list. There's a million guys, and all of them seem to have a really great tight end. Is Terrence Ferguson your tight end, or is it going to take a little bit more looking? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on everything going on in Los Angeles?
So when I look at Terrence Ferguson, and we talked about it a few weeks ago about his addition to the Rams, what that means, and the different personnel packages Sean McVay wants to use with him, it's very clear that the Rams evaluated him through the draft process with a very specific role in mind. In fact, if you listen to Ferguson in the interviews he's done after these practices, he said, "Yeah, in college, my offensive coordinator, Will Stein, actually borrows a lot of what Sean McVay does from the Rams in terms of how they adjusted and set up their schemes." I guarantee you that came out during the interview process, the evaluation process of Ferguson. All these coaches, McVay and his staff, will call every college coach in their staff to figure out if there's a player that they like, in this case, Ferguson, at the University of Oregon, say, "Hey, what do you think of this kid?" I guarantee you McVay talked to Stein and said, "Hey, what do you think of Ferguson?" And Stein's like, "Yeah, Ferguson's great. We actually use a similar scheme you do. I think he'll fit very well with what you're trying to do." And Sean McVay probably thought that already, and that was just supporting information. So we're seeing a young prospect here in Ferguson that Sean McVay is incredibly high on. And I think what we're going to see with the Rams with this tight end, at least early on, is a supplemental red zone threat. Because if you look at the Rams last season, they finished 25th in the NFL in the red zone, converting those opportunities to touchdowns. That obviously isn't going to get it done. Winning in the red zone is how you win championships. That's why the tush push controversy with the Philadelphia Eagles always rears its ugly head, because it's almost a cheat code in short yardage goal line situations, especially when you get down in the red area. So going forward, the Rams clearly have to improve in that department. They're already good in the running back room. They're already pretty good up front, the offensive line. So it's not like they can improve too much there. They have pretty solid receivers. They've had that going back basically the entire Sean McVay tenure. I think one of the things they've missed is that operational red zone threat, the tight end that can win in those tight confined spaces, that bigger frame, that bigger body, but also can block well enough in the running game in those situations as well. And I think as good as Higbee has been, a very solid player, I think, in the National Football League, he wasn't good enough in those situations to elevate this Rams offense. If you look at what the Rams have had to do in the red zone, it's basically, are they able to pound it in, or is Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua able to win one-on-one matchups on the outside? And that's pretty much it, right? Having a guy like Ferguson can work that middle of the field, can give him a little bit of play action boot option in the red zone off that running game. It's going to take the load off of Puka Nacua. It's going to make things maybe a little bit easier for Devontae Adams in the red zone, and just give him an opportunity to exceed more, right? Because if you look at this Rams team, obviously they're incredibly young and just stacked defensively. Sean McVay, one of the smarter offensive minds in football. Matthew Stafford is still a franchise quarterback, even though at the end of his career, he's still one of those rare 6, 7, 8 guys. He's proven it, obviously, that has the arm talent and just ability to win a title. They're great at receiver, right? Good at running back, like I've already mentioned. They really just need that one incremental piece as a red zone threat, as a middle field threat. And Ferguson can and probably will be that guy. And the beauty of it, we talk about a lot when it comes to rookies, he doesn't have to go out there and catch 100 balls. He doesn't have to go out there and be an all-pro day one, because they obviously have all the good players that I already mentioned. The thing with Ferguson is going to be really, can he take advantage of those key opportunities, third downs and red zone, like I mentioned? And I think he will, because the big issue with a lot of rookies when they have to come into situations and win those key moments is, can they pick up the schemes? Do they understand the strategies, right? The beautiful thing when it comes to Ferguson and his offensive coordinator, Will Stein, in college, is they were already running this offense, or a very close derivation of it. So in terms of picking up the scheme, and we're already hearing about it already, won't be an issue at all. He'll be able to slide in day one, week one, and immediately contribute in those key moments. And that's exactly what the Rams need. They're one of the more, it sounds weird to say this, but they're sliding under the radar. I don't know if it's an East Coast, West Coast media bias thing that we hear about all the time, but this is a team that gave Philadelphia the best game of any team in the postseason last year by far. I mean, they really were. They were driving for the win. They got stomped on fourth down. Philadelphia big played Los Angeles. I think Los Angeles won most of the game. Philly won a couple big plays that just turned the entire momentum of the game. They really gave Philly a really darn. They were that close to beating Philly there towards the end. This is probably the second best team in the NFC right now. People are talking about Washington, Jay Daniels, fun and exciting. I get it. People are talking about the Packers and the Lions and all, or the Bears going to be good, whatever, right? I get it. They're fun. It's exciting. It's cool. But if you look at the Rams, just steady, consistent, with a really talented roster, with a really great coach, They are right there with Philadelphia. They're right there at the top of the conference, and they just solved, I think, their biggest problem, certainly on offense. This is a deadly team, and Ferguson makes them a lot deadlier.
Yeah, Nick, and I think one thing you talk about the tight end position, and I keep going back to this and thinking about it because, like you said, I think Tyler Higbee is an okay tight end. I think he does a lot of things decent, and I think in times he's come up big for this Rams team. But when you look at it, I wouldn't say he jumps off the page as someone that strikes me as someone who is like a can't miss talent. He's not a game changer. He's not, like they're not double covering Tyler Higbee every single game. But when you look at Rams tight ends, if you believe it or not, Tyler Higbee is actually statistically the leader of most yard. He's the statistical leader of tight ends on the Rams all time. So believe it or not, this guy is like the most statistically dominant tight end in Rams history. He's got like 3,000 receiving yards, most by a Rams tight end ever. So if that is your best, if this is what you bring to the table, I think that's okay. But what we're saying is, like you said, you need a difference maker. You need a guy to come in and be better than that. It's not a super high bar to come in and beat, but I think Terrence Ferguson, he's a guy that has the capability to do that. He can be that difference maker. Like you said, this guy you can put into red zone situations, and hopefully he does a lot better for you. I think this guy is a difference maker. I think the Rams, they have a very, very solid team. We love what McVay has done. We talk about it all the time. Their approach to drafting, the addition of a guy like Devontae Adams in the receiver room, this offensive line they built looks pretty solid. You look at the defensive line, it looks downright scary with all the young players that they have that are standing out. Overall, this team looks really, really well. But what do? They go out, they add in one more weapon. They try to change the dynamic of something they've been mediocre at in the last decade or so, and that's the tight end position. I think guys like Jared Cook, they were good, but they weren't really they weren't superstars. They didn't break the game, so to speak. I think Terrence Ferguson is a guy that can break the game with his athletic ability, his receiving ability, just like a guy like Tyler Warren, just like a guy like Colson Loveland. So I think the Rams finally got a guy. I hope it pans out, but this could be the difference. This could be a make or break for beating a Philadelphia Eagles versus coming up just short in a most important game like that. I think Terrence Ferguson could be the difference in games like that.